I was playing Death Stranding, right? For whatever reason, you drink monsters in this game. Monster is the, I don't know, partnership brand ambassador. He has other stuff in it, you understand, but this one in particular stands out. You understand why? Your guy slams it, same, whatever. He slams it, and you know, it is what it is. You get it in your canteen sometimes, right? And I think there's a booster pack for it or whatever, extra special, the one that's been aged in that black stuff over there. Anyways, what you come away with is, I always thought Red Bull was the brand, right? But it's not. It's not. I thought Monster was the competing brand, but it's not. They're actually from the same parent company. This parent company is Farmers Sons Alters Affidavits Incorporated Esquires Services. I think it's a food service truck industry type of thing. It's out of Delaware. Naturally, you would have assumed that, telling its name. What you don't understand is this exact brand. Before it was advertised, it went through a medical trial, and it had all of these things on it, right? Red Bull had something similar, I just want you to know. It had all these things on it. It said it can do all these things to your body, and if you have been hiking and you have one of these, it is actually possible to recover from acardia. Acardia is loss of will and limb due to detoxification of the urine and blood. This has basically been hiking for almost a week. You've had nothing but a few sips of water, maybe. Your body's breaking down. Monster can help bridge that gap there. Absolutely outrageous claim, right? Well, they found out it was true. The medical trials they do are somewhat extreme in a certain state, and this is why I bring all of this up. There's this place called the Mountain. This is not a way we see it usually. It's just, let's just call it the Mountain. It's somewhere out in Delaware somewhere. It's hidden. Now, like, there's no roads that go to it. You have to go off-road to get to the road that goes to it. It's this, just that hidden from the public, you understand? When you go over, there's armed security and all sorts of task force stuff going on. Sometimes they drill there. You understand? I wouldn't say anything more about it if I didn't have to. It's very small details, if I may. Now, when you're out here, right, this is called a God's country. That means there's a few tribes out here, and these are mostly white men, and they mostly see themselves, and you know exactly what it means. Do not ever approach them. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's 20 or so of them in this area. And it is their area, and they've kept people out of it since the 1800s in some way. You understand? The government knows about it, and they go there, and they occasionally do a fly-through or anything like that. They say, oh, we've been hearing about you again. And they go over there and they harass them. That's basically how programming works, you understand? No matter what the level of harassment may be, whether it's deserved or not. Now, if you had a case of monsters out here, you would not sell a single one. It will be poison. You understand? Anything that comes from one of them grocery stores is poison. They drink water with some berries in it, juniper berry tea and stuff like that. These guys in particular are known to be outlandishly anti-government for one reason or another. Now, someone told them if they ever actually left this damn valley, they would try to get rid of us in some way. And they say, I think we keep them here in some measure. They said one or two of them always leaves. Kind of like Rumspringa for the Amish, right? They said one of these guys became a kingpin or a warlord or a crime god somewhere out in Alabama. And they could not figure it out. It's because he knew how to traffic something no one else knew how to traffic. It's a very specific type of flavor they like down on Bourbon Street. And it's impossible to get it, basically. These guys know how to get it. Now, when he sells it, it's worth $100,000, supposedly. When they buy it, it's worth $500,000 up to $1 million. Now the reason is it's because you mix it with a potent of curatives. This is known. This is like 1800 sorcery. You understand? They say this will cure anything. Monsters joke, right? It's curative. Do you understand? Voodoo witch doctor type of stuff, Bourbon Street myth lore stuff. Now, the reason he became the kingpin of crime is because someone had him attacked because he knew how much money he just got paid. Because he was being a bit of a loudmouth. He hadn't learned the beat of the streets or whatever. He killed him, and then he killed 6 of his homeboys. I'm not saying they were colored or anything. I just want you to know. And then they said he got away with it, and they can't figure out how he got away with it. And they said it was self-defense, and he has to do this because of his tribal law. He says he's from a tribe, he's the whitest man I've ever seen. He's practically inbred. And they said he's from a white tribe of Disreconaments, Tamaricus, Larasuriers, it's like that's early Kyler. He's like, no, they're completely broken away from him in some way, and matter of fact, we don't understand. They were not like him, and they were with him, and then they were not like him, and they were with him, and then they left, and then they were still like him, and then they left them, and then this is the 3rd or 4th moving away, and they've moved very remotely, and they are allowed to get you because of this, because they have a history like this in the United States. He said, do I have a gift? He's like, I guarantee you do, but you will never learn it because our people demand that nobody knows these informations in courthouses. And if you ever wonder why there's such court cover-ups, it's because of stuff like this. And when it actually goes down, they try to put a seal and a lid on everything these days. Everything gets compartmentalized. Okay. So the murder is the thing. And I'm bringing it up. One of these guys was doing great. He was doing excellent. Whatever, he was running with the wrong crowd. It doesn't matter. This one in particular, do you understand? They say he was a target. They will not let this go. They absolutely refuse to not have justice in this case. This case will never, ever, 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 I say in a billion fucking years, ever be tried. Ever. Do you want to know what the joke is? You can legally pull a drive-by on them if you knew which tribe it was. And I do not. But that's what someone told me. They said you can do it legally. And I said that doesn't make any fucking sense. He says it is because of how long their feud with not early Kyler is. They have been at war for nearly 100 years. They say 100,000 years in America across 3.5, maybe 4 more states. They said, okay, how do I get there or whatever? Oh, you ain't getting there. That's the entire point. They are in such high security remote location. It's more they use the word juxtaposed for some reason. I've never seen it before. Than Fort Knox in some ways, because Fort Knox is a place you can see. You will never see this place coming unless you have satellites they can't see, which don't exist. He said, okay, that's great. Why is it drive-by? He said it's not. It's not. That's the entire point. They put it in quotations that way. That anything up to this is okay because they know what's happening. And he said, well, what is it? He said it's about this spice that they got. He says it's his. They say it's theirs. Only one of them knows how to see it per generation. And that one they must always keep alive or they will not have it. And they said as soon as the one guy finds out which one it is, he will have him killed instantly because his enemies have his money. You understand? They say, yes, we have to allow this because they will do it. If they're not allowed to be able to get at each other, they will take it out on law enforcement and other such people. Right? Now, I'm going to jump back here to Death Stranding. When you fall downhill, and you're about to die or whatever, and you drink the monster, it brings you right back, usually, right? Theirs is such a powerful potent, you would not need but a sip, allegedly, right? Like the water from the water boy, right? Now, when I found out Red Bull gives you wings, I had wondered, well, what might this be? And I found out there is. It's Buckfast Wine Tonic, but it's not. It's a different one. But it has the most similar name to it. And you aren't allowed to have any of it anymore. It was from a secret monk reliquary somewhere in northern Gdansk, which doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't been there since before the start of World War II or whatever. Somebody said they went underground. And supposedly you can float if you drink it. But not everybody floats on the first time or something like that. Whatever it is. And they say it gets you super drunk. He's like, no, you actually like lift off the ground. And some of them can use it in great detail, allegedly. But I've never seen it. So there's 2 super drinks. He goes, yeah, there's 2 super drinks. He said, how come I ain't got a super drink and they got a super drink? He said, that is the exact thing you do. He says, I do. He says, yes, they can sell quite a quantity of it at a go. And they say, we do have it. It's just not in stores yet, like cocaine and other such narcotics. He said, is theirs illegal? And there was a long pause. He said, not in any way. And he said, tell me why. And the guy said, I can't. I'm not a lawmaker. He's like, oh, come on now. You tell me why you see it, and maybe I will dismiss it. And he said, because they're white. And he said, okay, you just tell me what I want to hear, right? He's like, yeah, I know what you're pointing at. He says, okay, I got it. He says, because they're white. He said, I've one more serious question about this. He says, yeah, how much does law enforcement spend on keeping the one in Europe secret? He's like, oh, that's the biggest joke ever told. He said, because of what it can do, they say the KGB knows how to climb buildings in some way and get into vestibules not otherwise considered reachable by normal infantrymen. He said, and the KGB does not have it either, and this is the very detail most people don't see when they look at all the other details all across Europe and Scandinavia about things that happen. This is exactly what they don't see. He said there's a case, they got a trial, and they will never see this one way, and this is exactly the only thing it could have been, and they say they don't see it. He says, but yes, but we have it. He says, yes, but it's because there is a war over it. He says, well, how does it go? He's like, they're fighting the underground people for it because they say they have a plot for it already too, which nobody quite understands, but you understand they're difficult to speak with sometimes. And it might just be those two talking where it's a bad translation sort of a thing. And they say, all right, I want to get a hold of this drink. How do I do it? He's like, that's just it. You can't. It's like an underground drink. It's like our people's drink. It's our little secret. He's like, and you can fly and basically revive almost, or have a lot of energy back if you're on a long journey. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. He's like, how much do you think they'd retail for? It's like, oh, $20 a bottle. More than that even, 50 even. Depends on how potent it was, really. He's like, okay. He's like, and do you think these two wars are costing taxpayers a lot of money to keep secret when they can't have a product that, should probably be in court in some kind of a juxtaposed court about pyratio that the Mandalore hold on June 13th every single year in Parliament in South Carolina? He says, I never heard of that before. What are you talking about? You're crazy. He says, oh, well, they should probably go to that and end this stupid thing so we can have the drink and, be merry again and not pay for police to harass citizens that are going up mildly too fast on an expressway. He's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Well, that ain't gonna happen. He said, why? Because they got it the way they want it right now. He's like, what does that mean? It's called picking with one hand and cleating with the other. It's something early Kyler sees. He's like, yeah. He's like, how does that work? He's like, the military sees this, that, and the other. It's like, they think that this is a unique plan that works for them quite well. He's like, oh yeah? He's like, we get to do what we want, where we want to, and at the same time, we can get away with a bit of meander. He says, and wiggle around a little bit because of these details. And that way, I keep in charge, I keep the same men in my regiment, and I can still be paid because I know something you don't know. I can get away with something because I can tell you a secret you don't know. And then I can bring you under my guisances because I told you a secret and say he knows my secret. Now I let it slip. And now they are in a different wing of the government, and now nobody can see them anymore. And this is how the entire world works in some way now. And everyone is not allowed to speak. And the one guy, he said, all right, well, so do I need to speak Mandalorian? He goes, no, it's in English. He goes, this place you told me about can't possibly exist. He's like, that's the entire point. Nobody knows where to go, and if they did, they wouldn't see it because it's just the way they see it. He says, yeah, it's like some binary government type of thing, and nobody seems to understand it. He says, oh, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, it's weird as sort of a thing. The detail to it is that in that alone is like, it's the strangest thing. He goes, I'm sorry, I must have messed up the characters at some point in time. Sorry about that. And he goes, all right, if I want to buy a drink, I have to hide from the government and hide from a faction and hide from the police. And if I screw up, I have to go to the bottom of the shuffle in an FBI stack that's been once removed so that I can be free and blindfolded in some way again to what's out there because it's not worth seeing most of the time. He's like, yeah, just knowing that it's out there is kind of dangerous because in the corner of your eye maybe you do see it, and maybe they see that shine and all these other details you can never quite sort out when things get shifty. He's like, yeah, that is pretty shitty. And they broke, and that was the end of the talk. And then I go back to Death Stranding here, and I say, Kojima Games has a new release and all that, and I tell you about the new release, you understand. That's the whole thing you have to do there. And then it will be great and stuff. We look forward to it highly. It's Kiefer Sutherland and stuff. So, what was I saying? This product placement, you understand? It's not irrational, but it's not correct. You understand what I'm saying? That it's a statement. Only 3 or 4 individuals in the entire world might understand. And I happen to be one of them, I suppose. But that might not be true. That's a great question. I guess there is no answer.